take the advantages holistically, before independence, during independence, and after the independence. It's likely to have a positive impact on the local economy. So I invite Voltarians to take advantage of the celebration. I invite banks and institutions to give loans to individuals who can quickly expand their businesses within this short period, because the economy will be booming. After the independence, I would expect people to visit the place and invest in the area. That is what I think I want to talk about. I also want to talk about the smoothness with which the first year's SHS students were admitted into various schools. They started yesterday, and my own school, Presec, it was wonderful. I commend the teachers there. It's in today's graphic front page. And I think that they are doing something wonderfully well. Though there were lapses, I think they could have done better. I am of the view that free SHS has come to stay, and no government should cancel free SHS. We can review for the better. Heritage Month is coming. And I encourage all Ghanaians, eat Ghana, drink Ghana, wear Ghana. That's the only way by which we can develop our country. Finally, let there be peace in Nigeria. Our colleagues in Nigeria, we are with you in spirit. We are praying for you. Let us know that Nigeria is bigger than any of the politicians. Let peace prevail. If a winner emerges, let us all support the winner to build Nigeria as one of the best economies in this country. And I know
continent.
In this continent. And I know Ghanaians, we are poised to partner with our brothers in Nigeria to collectively develop Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So a lot for you to chew on. This morning, our eyes on Nigeria to see how things are going on there. Heritage Month is being launched tomorrow, 1st of March. The arrival of boarding, secondary school students too. And I do remember back in the I think 40 years ago, my father took me to Achimota School, and as we were approaching the gates, he said, "Listen, I don't want you to go and start boasting to people about my father has this, my father has that, my father. None of it. You don't have any of it. Anything you see in the house, I bought it. Okay, go there and do your thing. Make yourself proud. But remember, if you fail your exams, you're on your own." Strong warning before I go into secondary school. Yeah, with the old man. I still remember those words.
If you were an Ashanti man, he would have added that if you fail, you go to the cocoa farm
and go and work. Yes. My father said, if you fail your exams, I'm not going to go and beg any headmaster or anybody to you go and write again and keep writing. Good. Enjoy. And then he left me. And that was it. And I still remember.
I remember, my mother, a poor civil servant. I followed her to the bank, Ghana Commercial Bank, Legon. He just withdrew her salary for the month and showed me, this is my salary. Yes. I'm using it to buy everything for you to go to school. Make sure you learn and learn hard, else you disappoint everybody in the family. And that thing sank into my head so much that anytime I feel like not learning, I remember the words my mother used, that this is my salary and I'm investing it in you.
Big time.
So we all remember.
So shout out to all the parents who dropped those words into the psyches of their children. And we remember them 30, 40 years after the words were uttered and long after they have gone. So God bless all the parents who are doing a great job putting their resources together to make sure that their children get the best in life, sacrificing so that their children have a brighter future. We thank you all. Now to Anochi Frimpong. Today is a very significant day, 28th of February, 2023, 75 years after the Crossroads incident at Christiansborg. What do you have on your mind this morning?
I believe that is a great day for the nation, and at the same time a very sad day for the nation, in consideration of the fact that people like Sergeant Ajeti, that every school child knows Sergeant Ajeti, knows Agri and Kwame Nkrumah. Incidentally, these people, in particular Sergeant Ajeti and his two other colleagues, Odate Lamte and then Atipu, have not been given the honor they deserve. And I believe that one day the nation will think it's right to give them a very big honor and just being named after them. It doesn't matter. A major hospital. And then also look for wherever their remains are and then bring them to lie by the side of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, because their history is inextricably linked to the history of Nkrumah, and for that matter, Ghana's independence. And you see, we have narrated or structured our history such that the story of Sergeant Adjete and his two colleagues Odate Lamte and Atipo, it's always detached from Kwame Nkrumah. It's never true. Kwabena Boni, Kwame Nkrumah, and then Sergeant Adjete worked together, as I'm going to unfold. You see, what happened was that the UGCC had been formed in August 1947. And then in December that year, Kwame Nkrumah arrived from the UK to take up his position as the General Secretary of the UGCC. Now, when Nkrumah arrived, he was a different person altogether. Nkrumah's idea was socialism, and he felt that the colonialists were bourgeoisie, that is big people, super capitalists, who have taken the economy of the country and needed to be destroyed so that the ordinary people, whom he would refer to as the proletariat, would take over the administration of the country. That would have to come through violence. That is a socialist revolution, always violence. So no wonder that when he arrived in December, January, he had linked up with his friend Kwabena Boni, chief of Osu Alata, to cause a boycott of European goods on the Gold Coast. Osu Alata was a very strategic area because you start from that place up to Jamestown High Street. That was where almost all the big shops in the country were then. So when he started, it really affected them. At that time, the aim was that the European Association for the Sale of Goods, European Syrians, and then Lebanese and Indians, so-called Association of West African Merchants, and their prices were so big
and that is where the Awam
came up. So we Awam, that is, you are a cheat. Very good. And so the whole thing began 1 month. It started on 26th January 1948, and it would end on 28th February the same year. And so that 28th February, when the Crossroads shooting occurred, nobody should think that it was an accidental coincidence. When Nkrumah and then Kwabena Boni planned the boycott, within that month, he discovered another potent force in the country, the ex-servicemen. They had gone to fight alongside the British. After 1945, they had been brought back, many dead, many wounded, and no job for anybody. And we are told that every evening they will converge at Jamestown, where they will booze and then weep, and no organization. In fact, before then there was no organization. And Nkrumah organized them that on 28th February, when the colonialists would think that the boycott will come to an end, will be a super violence in the country. Because he was a socialist and he didn't believe in constitutional development. He felt that he must fall through violence. And so he told them that when you get to the crossroads, definitely nobody will allow you to reach the castle. So they will ask for your petition and they will give it to the governor. If you agree, that is your end. Say that you want to see the governor and address him yourself. Indeed, it was a trick. Because Nkrumah knew that when you refuse the security's command and you cross over, definitely there will be shooting, there will be rancor, there will be violence over there. And that was his plan as a follow-up to the boycott. We are told that on that day, before they came, the petition was written in Nkrumah's hand, and it was Akwaje who dictated it because he was a lawyer. So when the whole thing happened, they go to the crossroads. One Major Emery, the British police officer, ordered them to stop and give him the petition. So they felt what Nkrumah said was true. They would not have to give him, they would have to force their way into the Christiansborg Castle. And then the man opened fire and 3 men died. And Sergeant Tajeto, to be a sergeant in the Second World War, would be like today a brigadier. So it means that it was a very costly blood that was shed. And because at that time the boycott had not ended, it gave rise to a higher level, looting, this time real looting of European goods, and it reverberated everywhere in the country. And the following day, because wind had gone round, that some of the leaders of the UGCC were the brain behind the collection of the ex-servicemen. So they went round and then arrested 6 of them. And because there were 6, the following day it was in the newspaper headline, Big 6 arrested. In fact, it would be wrong for any Ghanaian to think that these were actually the leaders of the UGCC. In fact, the president, the bankroller of the UGCC, was George Alfred Grant, otherwise known as Pa Grant. He had then traveled out of the country. They didn't get him. The first vice president was Mr. Justice R.S. Blay. They didn't get him because he was in 2nd D. And before they got there, he had taken cover. And then Awuma Williams was also in Accra. They couldn't locate where he was. So please, when we say the Big 6, it never meant that they were the only leaders of the UGCC. In fact, the main leader himself was not one of them. And for that matter, to print any currency and then limit the leaders of the UGCC to this so-called Big 6 would be wrong. And then when they were interrogated by the police, 5 Akufo-Addo, the president's father, and then the president's uncle, what do you call him, William Ofori-Atta, and the president's grandfather, J.B. Dankwa, and then his bosom friend, Obechebi Lamte, and Akuaje, said they knew nothing about what had taken place. And Kwame Nkrumah said he knew everything about what had taken place.
Was it not Akwaje who dictated
He dictated it, yes. So later on, he will cross carpet and will become the only member of the UGCC to join the CPP with the Nkrumah. But when he became scared, he was afraid. He said he knew nothing. And then the handwriting would betray Kwame Nkrumah. He also confessed that he knew something about that. And I believe that was when God put the crown on him, because even J.B. Dankwa, being the oldest of all of them and second to Pa Grant, instead of accepting that even if these boys did it, were my boys, everybody said to us, Nkrumah, that violent man who did. Nkrumah was sent to a prison in the north, and the rest were kept here. They were released before he was released. Then the following month, March, they set up the Watson Commission to investigate the riots. Then the Watson Commission recommended that the country was ripe for independence. So it gave birth to a constitutional committee known as the Kusi Constitutional Commission. And the members of the Kusi Constitutional Commission included the so-called Big 6 minus Kwame Nkrumah. And that was why Nkrumah referred to the Kusi Constitution as bogus and fraudulent, which government students know a lot. Then in June, the UGCC members held a meeting at Saltpond to invited Kwame Nkrumah either to sack him or to send him back with sufficient money to continue his education in the UK, or to accept the position of treasurer and remain at Saltpond, never to go anywhere. Something important took place. We are told that Nkrumah was going to accept the treasurership position. Then members of the Ashanti Youth Association, had been alerted by the then Asantehene Sir Osei Agyeman Prempeh II to throw their support behind Kwame Nkrumah. And Nkrumah was the leader of the Committee of Youth Organizations of the UGCC, one of whose member, a very good member was, I will remember the name very soon. They met there and warned Nkrumah that if he should go and sign anything, that would be his doom, because the Asantehene would want him to become the leader of a new party. And so that very day, the message came from F.A. Jantua and then KSP, Franklin Adubobi Jantua, and the Kwame Sanapoku Jantua and Krobo Edusei. One band like this in front of the headquarters of the UGCC. They got a writing pad, and then Kwame Nkrumah wrote a letter, sent it to them up there that he will not receive that treasurership or sacking or anything. He had resigned. And the following day, he announced the formation of the CPP. And he still felt that there should be violence to bring the country to the level of independence. And that was the reason why, from 1949, that his party was formed. The following year, Kwame Nkrumah declared positive action, that everybody should sit down. We are not going to work until we have got independence. And then another hero also emerged. Nkrumah was kept at Osherford prison after having been prosecuted and to be jailed for 3 years. And the essence was to keep him out of politics in Ghana. And the colonial masters gave sufficient money to K.A. Bedema to campaign for himself and allow Nkrumah to rot in prison. Bedema, in his own words in the documentary, says that was when he realized how, or to the extent to which the white people feared Nkrumah. So instead of working for himself, he rather went everywhere in the country. Meanwhile, he made Nkrumah to contest on the ticket of Accra Central, now Ododo Diodio, and Nkrumah won a record figure. And Nkrumah had to be brought out of prison to become the leader of government businesses. I will end here by reiterating that Ghana's independence is strictly linked to the effort of Nkrumah, no doubt about that. The effort of Kwabena Bonney. Then let's talk about Sergeant Adjetey. At that time, he was more or less a general who fell. So it was a costly blood that was shed. And that was why the whole nation was very angry. And without our independence could have gone to 1970, if not beyond. Atipo and Odate Lamte, and then Mr. Komla Bedema. We should remember these people and create a new day. I mean, a real Founders Day and a true memorial for. Otherwise, you read William Shakespeare's book, Julius Caesar, and Mark Antony will say, and Caesar's spirit with Ate by his side is crying for vengeance. We have dissatisfied patriots such as Sergeant Adjetey and his friends, wandering, cursing the country until the right thing has been done. I believe that the economy of this country would never settle on the solid ground and will continue to wander in the wilderness. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that deep dive into history, 28th February 2023, throwing it back to 28th February 1948, where Atipo, Odate Lamte, and Adjetey fell at the Christiansborg crossroads. And yesterday, I, with the help of my colleague here, Dara Alan Tego, went and saw for myself where the remains of Sergeant Adjetey lie in a community in La, not too far from here, where you have about 7 schools surrounding a disused cemetery. This is a cemetery where you see graves from people who were born in the 19th century who have been buried there. And there, close to a refuse collection point, is where you can see, this is the school in La. It's a community of 7 schools. There's a refuse collection point there, and then you have children on break, dancing on the graves of people who have died years ago, and this is Sergeant Adjetey's grave. There it is. The great hero, Sergeant CF Colonius Francis Adjetey, born 2nd January 1894, died 28th February 1948, shot at the Christiansborg Road. He served in 2 wars, First World War, Second World War.
He's such a hero.
Yes, and for me, it's such a shame that his remains lie in such a very. This is his grave, man. And I seriously think that with the collaboration of his family and the traditional authorities and the military authorities.